My name is Adaora, and I was only 12 when my world ended. The night my uncle dragged me and the twins into the forest, I thought it was just another punishment. But I soon realized it was death he carried in his hands. The moon was pale and cold above the trees, the shadows moving like dark spirits. In my arms, the twins whimpered. They were so small, so helpless. My sister had died giving birth to them, and I was all they had left. But to my uncle they were nothing, just mouths that would eat his food and bring him shame. He walked ahead of me, a lantern swinging in one hand, a machete in the other. His face was hard, his eyes colder than the night. Every step I took behind him felt like walking deeper into a grave. "Keep up!" he barked, his voice cutting like a whip. I wanted to scream, to beg, but fear gripped my throat. I clutched the twins tighter, whispering lullabies my mother once sang to me, my tears soaking their tiny faces. At last, we reached a clearing, an open space surrounded by tall trees. The air smelled of damp earth and rotting leaves. In the centre stood a crooked thorn tree, its branches twisted like claws. My uncle stopped and pointed his machete toward it. "Put them there." My knees buckled. "Please, Uncle, no. They are just babies. They did nothing wrong." His hand came fast, slapping me across the face. Pain exploded in my cheek. "Shut your mouth! Do as I say!" I staggered, my vision blurred with tears, but I held the twins close. Their cries grew louder, piercing the silence of the night. My heart screamed to protect them, but my body was weak. Slowly, trembling, I walked to the thorn tree and knelt. I kissed their foreheads, my tears falling like rain. "Forgive me," I whispered. My arms shook as I laid them down on the cold earth beneath the cruel tree. The moment I let go, their cries rose like broken bells, cutting through my chest. I wanted to gather them again, but my uncle's grip yanked me back. "Enough!" he growled. He dragged me away, his lantern light swinging. Every step tore my soul apart. I looked back, watching the tiny bodies shiver in the cold, their small fists reaching into the empty night. When we reached the edge of the forest, my uncle shoved me hard to the ground. "If you ever speak of this," he hissed, his eyes burning with hate, "I will bury you alive." Then he turned and walked away, his lantern light disappearing into the darkness. I lay there, broken, my cheek stinging, my chest aching with sobs. The cries of the twins echoed faintly from the clearing. I pressed my hands to my ears, but I could not block the sound. The forest was alive with whispers, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of leaves, the howl of a wolf far away. My body trembled, but it was not the cold that made me shake. It was the guilt. Hours passed. I curled on the ground, torn between fear and love. If I went back, my uncle would kill me. If I stayed, the babies would die. My heart bled at the thought of their small faces, their fragile breaths fading into silence. At last I could bear it no longer. With shaking legs, I rose and stumbled back into the forest. The trees loomed like giants, their shadows reaching for me. Every sound made me jump, but I pressed on, guided by the faint cries. At last, I reached the thorn tree. They were still there, alive, barely. Their tiny bodies trembled with cold, their lips pale. I fell to my knees and wrapped them in my arms. "I am here, my darlings. Mama is here," I whispered, though I was not their mother. My tears soaked their heads as I rocked them gently, my own body their only warmth. But I had nothing else to give, no food, no water, no home. My uncle would find me if I tried to run. I was trapped, a child myself, holding on to children. I pressed my forehead against the ground and prayed, words I barely remembered from church spilling out. "God, please, don't let them die. Send help, send anyone." The night dragged on. Wolves howled closer, the wind slicing through the trees like icy knives. I held the babies tighter, my eyes darting in fear at every shadow. My body ached from exhaustion, but I refused to let go. I whispered promises I wasn't sure I could keep. "I won't leave you. Even if I die, I won't leave you. Then, just as the first light of dawn touched the sky, I heard footsteps. My heart leapt into my throat. Terror froze me. Was it my uncle? Had he come back to finish what he started? The bushes rustled. A tall figure stepped out from between the trees. He wasn't my uncle. He was a young man, no more than 17. His clothes were torn from travel, his hair wild, his face hardened by life, yet his eyes widened when he saw me. He stopped in his tracks, staring at the sight before him. A girl, barefoot and bruised, clutching 2 weak, crying babies under a thorn tree. For a moment, silence fell. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low, cautious. I could not answer. My lips trembled, my throat dry. I only clutched the twins tighter, my body shaking with fear and hope. He stepped closer, slowly, like one approaching a wounded bird. His eyes softened as he looked at the babies, then at me. "Did someone leave you here?" he asked. I burst into tears, unable to hold back. My whole body collapsed forward, the twins crying with me. Words tumbled out in sobs. My uncle. He left us here to die. The young man's jaw tightened. He looked around the forest, then back at me. In his eyes, I saw something I had never seen before. Not pity, not fear, but a spark. A fire. That moment was the beginning of everything, because while I was ready to die, he was ready to fight. The young man's eyes burned with something I couldn't name. He looked at me, at the twins trembling in my arms, and then at the cruel thorn tree that had become our grave. His fists clenched at his sides. I could see the anger rising in him, but it wasn't directed at me. "Stand up," he said, his voice steady, though his eyes betrayed the storm inside him. My legs trembled. I tried to rise, but my body was too weak from the long night. He stepped forward quickly and reached for me. For a moment I flinched. Every instinct screamed that another man's hand would only bring pain. But his touch was gentle. He helped me to my feet, steadying me as though I was fragile glass. "What's your name?" he asked. "Adaora," I whispered, my voice breaking. He nodded. "Adaora. I'm Daniel. And you're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you." His words fell into my heart like water on parched ground. But part of me didn't believe. Safe? How could we ever be safe when my uncle would stop at nothing to bury the truth of what he had done? Daniel looked at the twins whose cries had grown weak. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around them, tucking the fabric close to shield them from the cold. "We need to get them somewhere warm, somewhere they can eat." "Where?" My voice was trembling. "I have no home. My uncle, if he finds me..." He met my eyes, steady and unshaken. "Then we don't let him find you." He helped me walk, carrying one of the twins while I held the other. His steps were confident, though his clothes and worn boots told me he was no rich man. We walked until the sun began to rise fully, turning the forest gold. But every crack of a branch, every shadow between the trees made my heart jump. What if my uncle was hunting us already? Finally, we reached the edge of the forest. Beyond it lay a small, crumbling hut built near the riverbank. Its roof sagged and its walls leaned, but to me it looked like salvation. Daniel led me inside. The hut smelled of wood smoke and old earth. He set the baby in his arms on a folded blanket, then rummaged through a small bag on the table. He pulled out bread, hard and stale, and a flask of water. He broke off a piece, softened it with the water, and carefully fed it to the babies bit by bit. Watching their tiny mouths move, my chest ached with relief. For the first time since the night before, I felt a small flicker of hope. But it didn't last long. As the twins settled into sleep, Daniel sat across from me. His face was serious now. "Tell me everything. What kind of man leaves babies in the forest to die?" The words stuck in my throat, but I forced them out, piece by piece. I told him of the fire that took my parents, of my uncle who took me in but treated me like a curse, of my sister, who died giving birth to the twins, and how my uncle said they brought shame and hunger. I told him of the clearing, the thorn tree, the order to leave them. By the time I finished, my cheeks were wet, my chest hollow. Daniel sat in silence for a moment. Then his jaw hardened. That man is a monster, and monsters deserve justice. Fear wrapped around my heart. No, if he knows I am alive, he will kill me. Please don't go near him. He leaned closer, his voice calm but firm. Adaora, listen to me. You cannot live in fear forever, and those babies cannot survive while a man like that still walks free. His words scared me because they were true. Just then, a sharp sound cracked outside the hut. My whole body froze. Daniel stood instantly, grabbing a wooden stick from the corner. His eyes darted to the door. I clutched the twins, my heart pounding in my ears. The forest outside had gone too quiet. Another sound, this time a voice, deep, familiar. Adaora! My blood turned to ice. It was my uncle. He had found us. Daniel motioned for me to stay silent. He moved to the door, peeking through the cracks in the wood. I held the babies tight, my tears soaking their faces. The voice came again, closer now. Adaora! You think you can defy me? Come out, or I'll burn this whole place down. Daniel's grip on the stick tightened. He turned to me, his voice low. He can't see you. Not yet. Stay here. Don't make a sound. But my uncle's footsteps were already heavy on the ground outside. The shadow of his machete passed across the thin wall of the hut. The babies stirred in my arms, beginning to cry. I pressed them close, praying their tiny voices would not betray us. Then the door shook violently as my uncle's hand pounded against it. Come out now, girl, or you and those cursed twins will die screaming. Daniel's eyes flashed. He raised the stick, ready for a fight. My whole body shook with terror. My uncle was stronger, crueler, filled with hate. Daniel was just one boy with nothing but a stick. My uncle had a machete. I squeezed my eyes shut, whispering desperate prayers. Please, God, not like this. The door burst open with a crash. My uncle stormed inside, lantern swinging, machete raised high. His eyes found me instantly. Rage twisted his face when he saw the twins alive in my arms. You dare disobey me? He roared. Before I could answer, Daniel stepped between us. His voice was steady, unflinching. Touch her, and you'll go through me first. My uncle sneered. Boy, do you know who I am? Daniel tightened his grip on the stick, his eyes like fire. I know what you are, a coward who hurts children. The machete gleamed in the dim light. My uncle stepped forward, ready to strike. The twins wailed in my arms. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. The moment stretched, thick with terror, until it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. And then, my uncle lunged. The machete flashed in the dim light as my uncle lunged. My breath froze in my chest. Daniel swung the stick with all his strength, blocking the blade just in time. The sound of wood against steel cracked through the hut, and sparks of terror leapt into the air. Run! Adaora! Daniel shouted, his voice sharp. But my legs refused to move. I clutched the twins tightly, their cries loud, filling the tiny hut with fear. My uncle roared like a wild beast and struck again, pushing Daniel backward. The wooden stick split under the weight of the machete, leaving Daniel nearly defenseless. I screamed, Stop! Please stop! But my voice was swallowed by the violence. My uncle's eyes burned with hate, not just for me, but for anyone who dared to protect me. Daniel staggered but refused to fall. He grabbed a pot from the table and threw it, striking my uncle's shoulder. The machete slipped slightly from his grip, clattering against the wooden floor. For a heartbeat, hope lit my chest. But my uncle was too quick. He kicked Daniel hard in the stomach, sending him crashing into the wall. The machete was back in his hand before I could even breathe. He turned to me, his teeth bared. You thought you could run from me? You thought you could keep those cursed children alive? His voice was thunder, his steps heavy as he moved toward me. My heart shattered. I pressed the twins closer, whispering, I won't let him take you, I promise. But what could a girl like me do against a man like him? Then Daniel's voice broke through the chaos. Leave them. I looked up to see him rise again, blood trickling from his lip, his eyes blazing with fury. He held the broken stick like a spear. If you touch her, I swear you will never leave this hut alive. My uncle laughed, a sound like poison. Boy, you're nothing. Do you know who I am? Do you know the blood that runs in my veins? Daniel's voice dropped, calm but cold. I know enough. They clashed again. The stick struck against the machete, each blow echoing like drums of war. The hut shook with the violence of their fight. I huddled in the corner with the babies, my tears blinding me, my body trembling with helplessness. Then, suddenly, the machete slipped from my uncle's grip. Daniel seized the moment and slammed the stick into his chest, knocking him to the ground. The machete skidded across the floor, straight toward me. My uncle's hand shot out, reaching for it, but I kicked it away with all my strength. The blade spun across the dirt floor and stopped by Daniel's foot. He picked it up. The hut went silent. Daniel stood over my uncle, the machete gleaming in his hand. My uncle looked up at him, fear flashing across his face for the first time. Don't do this, he stammered. I held my breath. Would Daniel kill him? The thought terrified me, yet part of me wanted it. Wanted justice. Wanted freedom. Daniel's chest heaved as he raised the machete. His eyes burned, his hand shook. Then, slowly, he lowered it. No, he said, his voice low but strong. Killing you would make me like you. He turned and threw the machete out the doorway where it landed with a thud in the dirt. Relief flooded me, but it was too soon. My uncle's face twisted with rage. He lunged forward, pulling a hidden knife from his belt. He slashed wildly, and before Daniel could move, the blade cut across his arm. Blood spilled down his sleeve. I screamed. The twins wailed. My uncle stood towering over Daniel, ready to strike again. Then, out of nowhere, the baby's cries seemed to pierce the air with something stronger than fear. Daniel's eyes lifted to me, then to them, and he found strength again. With his uninjured arm, he shoved my uncle back, sending him sprawling against the wall. But then came the twist that shattered me. My uncle laughed, not with fear, not with defeat, but with triumph. You stupid girl, he hissed at me. Did you really think those babies are your blessing? Did you really think your sister died by accident? She died because of them. My heart stopped. What do you mean? He sneered. They aren't your sister's children. They are mine. The words struck me like lightning. My whole body froze. The twins, my uncles, the man who wanted them dead was their own father. Tears blurred my vision. I shook my head violently. No, you're lying. But deep inside, pieces of memory began to break apart. The way he always looked at my sister with something darker than family in his eyes. The way she cried alone at night. The way she died so suddenly, giving birth to babies no one had ever seen the father of. The truth was a knife stabbing into my chest. Daniel's face hardened. You're even worse than I thought. My uncle spat on the floor. Call me what you want. Those children are curses. They carry my blood, and I will not let them live to shame me. His words shattered me, but they also lit something inside me. Rage. A fire I never thought I had. I rose to my feet, clutching the twins, my tears falling onto their tiny heads. They are not curses, I whispered, my voice trembling but sharp. They are hope, and you will never touch them again. Daniel stood by my side, bleeding but unbroken. His eyes met mine, and in that moment I knew we would fight together, even if it cost us our lives. My uncle snarled, raising his knife again. The air was thick with dread, the walls of the hut closing in. Then, from outside, voices. Loud, many. Over here, someone shouted. The lantern, look inside. My uncle's face paled. He froze, then cursed under his breath. The door burst open again, and this time it wasn't him. It was 3 men, villagers, with torches in their hands. Behind them came more shadows, more eyes, more witnesses. They looked at the scene, Daniel bleeding, me trembling with the twins, my uncle clutching his knife. One of them gasped. "What is going on here?" The air thickened. My uncle's power slipped from his hands. And for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not of me, not of Daniel, but of the truth finally being exposed. And I knew the story was only beginning. The villagers' torches threw long shadows across the broken hut. Their voices filled the air with questions, whispers, and disbelief. I held the twins tightly, my body trembling, my tears wetting their tiny cheeks. My uncle stood in the middle of it all, his knife still clutched, his face pale as though the ground had opened beneath him. One of the older men stepped forward. His name was Papa Okoye, the one the village often called to settle disputes. His eyes moved from me to Daniel, then to my uncle. "What is happening here?" he demanded. Before I could speak, my uncle forced a laugh, wild and shaky. "Do not listen to her. This girl has been cursed since birth. Those babies are not hers, not mine. She brought them here to deceive you all." His voice cracked, but he shouted louder, trying to bury the truth under his lies. "She is a witch. She wants to ruin me," the villagers murmured among themselves. Some glanced at me with suspicion, others with pity. My heart raced. Fear stabbed at me. What if they believed him? What if they saw me as cursed too? But Daniel stepped forward, bleeding but unshaken. His voice was steady, louder than my uncle's lies. "Number, she is no witch. This man left these babies in the forest to die. I found her shielding them with her own body under a thorn tree. Look at her. She is only a child herself, but she fought to keep them alive when their own blood wanted them gone." Gasps broke from the crowd. Eyes turned toward me, wide with shock. I tightened my grip on the twins, pressing their tiny bodies closer to my chest. "Please." My voice shook, but I forced the words out. "They are innocent. They did nothing wrong. Don't let him take them from me." My uncle's face twisted, rage breaking through his mask. "You foolish girl," he roared. He lunged toward me, knife raised high, but villagers grabbed him, holding him back. He kicked, cursed, spat, but they pinned his arms, the knife falling uselessly to the floor. Papa Okoye's eyes burned into him. "Is it true? These children? Are they yours?" My uncle froze, his chest rising and falling. For the first time, I saw something like fear flicker across his face. But then, he laughed bitterly. "Even if they are, what of it? They are stains, curses, proof of a mistake I should have erased the moment they were born." The words hit me like stones. My knees buckled, but I held on to the twins. Tears poured freely down my face. How could he say that? How could a man hate his own blood so deeply? The villagers gasped in horror. Mothers clutched their children tighter. Men shook their heads in disgust. Yet some still looked uncertain, fear clouding their eyes. In our land, the whispers of curses and taboos were heavier than truth. Daniel stood firm, his voice like fire. "They are not curses, they are children. And this girl is braver than any of us standing here. She carried them into the night, ready to die with them, rather than abandon them. If there is any curse, it is the wickedness in this man's heart." The hut fell silent. The only sound was the twins, whimpering softly against my chest. Papa Okoye turned to me, his voice softened. "Child, do you wish to keep them? Do you understand what burden that means? Alone, without family, without protection?" My throat tightened. I looked down at the babies, their tiny fists clinging to my torn wrapper. My heart answered before my lips did. "Yes," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I will keep them. I will protect them, even if it costs me my life." Gasps rippled again. Tears blurred my vision, but I did not look away. I wanted them to see me, to see the fire that pain had lit inside me. But my uncle's laughter cut through the air like a knife. "You think you can save them? You think you are strong enough?" The world will eat you alive. You are nothing, and I will not rest until I see those children dead and buried, even if it means dragging this whole village into darkness." His words chilled my blood. The villagers wrestled him outside, his curses echoing into the night. My knees gave way and I collapsed on the floor, clutching the twins as though the earth itself would steal them away if I let go. Daniel knelt beside me. His hand, though bleeding, touched my shoulder. "You are not alone anymore, Adaora. I promised you safety and I will not break it." But even as his words reached me, the silence outside told a different story. My uncle was no ordinary man. His shadow stretched long and dark over everything, and deep inside, I knew this fight was only beginning. The villagers spoke among themselves, voices low and fearful. Some said the twins should be abandoned for peace to return. Others said my uncle should be punished, but their words were empty. They feared him too much. Papa Okoye returned, his face heavy. "We will meet tomorrow. The elders must decide what to do." His eyes met mine, pity softening his sternness. "Rest tonight. But guard your heart, child. This story is not finished." That night, Daniel made a small fire in the hut to keep us warm. The twins slept at last, their breaths shallow but steady. I sat awake staring at the flames, my heart heavy with dread. Daniel's voice broke the silence. "They will not let this end easily. He will fight, and he will use every lie, every shadow, every fear. But you must be strong, stronger than you ever thought you could be." I turned to him, tears brimming. "What if I can't? What if I lose them?" He looked at me, his eyes fierce. "Then, I will fight with you. Until the end." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe the world would give us mercy. But deep inside, I felt it. This was not the end of the storm. This was the first drop of rain before the flood. And as the fire crackled, a whisper of movement brushed against the window. I froze. Shadows moved outside, slow, silent. Daniel stiffened, grabbing the broken stick by his side. He pressed a finger to his lips. I held the twins close, my heart pounding. My uncle's words echoed in my mind. "I will not rest until I see those children dead and buried." The door creaked softly, as if someone outside was testing it. My breath caught in my throat. This was only the beginning. The fire inside the hut had burned low, but my heart was still racing from the whispers outside. Daniel's eyes stayed fixed on the door, his grip tight on the broken stick. I clutched the twins close, every breath from them like a fragile prayer in the silence. Then the sound came again. Slow footsteps circling the hut. Not one person, many. The hairs on my neck rose. Daniel looked at me, his face tense, and mouthed, "Stay quiet." A voice broke the night. It wasn't my uncle's. It was deeper, heavier. "Open the door, Daniel. We know you're in there." Daniel stiffened. He knew the voice. I could see it in his eyes. Another voice followed. "Hand over the girl and the twins. You can leave alive. Don't be a fool." My chest tightened. Who were they? If not my uncle, then who wanted us? My arms tightened around the babies until they whimpered. Daniel's jaw clenched. "Bandits," he whispered. "My uncle must have paid them." The door shook as fists pounded against it. "Open it now!" Daniel turned quickly, whispering fast. "Adaora, listen. If they get in, don't scream. Crawl under the bed with the twins. No matter what happens, don't move until I tell you." Tears filled my eyes. "But Daniel, do as I say." He cut me off, his voice trembling but strong. "I promised I'd protect you." The door burst open with a crash. 3 men stormed in, faces hard, torches in their hands. Their eyes landed on me instantly. "There!" one barked. Daniel stepped in front of me, his broken stick raised like a sword. "You'll touch them over my dead body." The men laughed coldly. "That can be arranged." They rushed him. Daniel swung the stick, striking one across the face. Another grabbed him, but Daniel kicked him hard, sending him into the wall. The third man slashed with a knife, cutting Daniel's arm again. Blood sprayed. I bit back a scream and slid under the bed with the twins, my heart pounding so loudly I thought they would hear it. I held the babies close, rocking them silently as the fight raged above me. The sound of fists, grunts, and wood cracking filled the hut. Daniel fought like a lion, but he was only one boy. A cry of pain escaped his lips, and I saw his legs stumble through the crack beneath the bed. My tears streamed. Then, silence. The next sound made my blood freeze, the bandits' laughter. One of them spoke, breathless but amused. "Stubborn boy. He'll bleed out soon enough." Another spat. "Forget him. The uncle paid us for the girl and the twins. Grab them." I pressed my hands over the twins' mouths, praying they would stay quiet. But Kahinda whimpered, a soft cry escaping. Boots turned toward the bed. A rough hand reached under, yanking me out by the arm. I clutched the twins desperately, screaming, "No, please, no!" The men sneered. "Quiet, girl. You belong to your uncle now. The babies too." My body shook with terror. "They are not his, they are not curses." They laughed, shoving me toward the door. I stumbled, nearly dropping the twins, but I held on with everything I had. Tears blinded me as I screamed for Daniel. Then I heard it. A groan. Weak, but alive. Daniel. He dragged himself up from the floor, blood dripping from his face, his eyes blazing through the pain. "Let her go!" he shouted. The bandits turned, shocked that he could still stand. One rushed him, but Daniel grabbed the fallen machete from the dirt floor and swung. The blade sliced through the man's arm, sending him crashing down with a howl of agony. The other two froze. Their sneers faltered. Daniel's voice was hoarse, filled with fire. "If you want her, you'll have to kill me first." For a heartbeat, no one moved. The flames of the torches flickered wildly, shadows dancing like ghosts on the walls. Then the leader of the bandits laughed coldly. "Fine. Have it your way." He whistled sharply. From outside, more footsteps thundered. 5 more men poured into the hut. My breath stopped. We were outnumbered. Daniel gripped the machete tighter, but his body swayed from blood loss. I saw it in his eyes. He knew he couldn't win. The bandits closed in. One of them reached for me again, tearing the twins from my arms. Their cries ripped the air like knives in my chest. "No!" I screamed, clawing at his arm. "Give them back! They'll die!" He shoved me hard to the ground. My head struck the dirt, stars flashing before my eyes. I reached weakly toward the babies, my sobs choking me. Daniel roared and swung the machete wildly, forcing the men back, but one slipped behind him and struck him on the head with a club. Daniel collapsed, the blade slipping from his hands. The twins screamed louder, their tiny voices filling the night. The leader smirked down at me. "Your uncle doesn't want them alive. He paid for silence. Tonight the forest will eat them. And you." Terror consumed me. My body shook, my voice cracked. "Please, kill me, but let them live." The man only laughed. "They die first." He raised his knife high over the babies. And then, a deafening sound. The door slammed open again, but it wasn't another bandit. It was someone else. Someone I never thought I would see. My eyes widened. My breath caught. Standing in the doorway, torchlight blazing across his face, was a figure I thought had died long ago. My father. The torchlight burned across his face, and for a moment the whole world stopped. My lips trembled as I whispered, "Papa?" The bandits froze too, their knives still raised. Confusion spread among them like smoke. The leader narrowed his eyes. "Who are you?" The man stepped forward, his voice strong. "Her father." The words hit me like thunder. I stared, trembling, unable to breathe. My father? Alive? But he had burned in the fire. I had cried over his ashes. I had whispered his name in the night, begging for his protection. And now? Here he was, standing before me. Tears blurred my eyes. "You're alive?" I choked. "All these years. Papa?" But he didn't look at me. His eyes stayed hard, his jaw clenched. He turned to the bandits. "Put down your weapons. She comes with me." The leader sneered. "And the twins?" My father's silence was sharp enough to cut the air. Slowly he said, "They don't matter." My heart shattered. His words pierced deeper than any knife. The twins whimpered in the bandit's arms, their tiny fists waving helplessly. My father's face, the face I had prayed to see again, carried no softness, no love, only stone. "Papa!" My voice cracked, desperate. "They are my sister's babies. They are innocent. You can't leave them." He finally turned his eyes to me, cold, empty. "You don't understand, Adaora. They should never have been born. Your uncle is not the only one who believes this." The room spun. My knees weakened. "No. No, Papa. You can't say that. Not you." Daniel groaned from where he lay on the floor, blood covering his face. He forced himself to rise, clutching the wall for support. His voice shook but carried fire. "She fought through the night to keep them alive. And you? You call yourself her father? What kind of father speaks like that?" The bandits shifted uneasily, unsure whether to obey my father or finish their work. The leader smirked. "If you want her, pay the price. The uncle already gave us silver." My father pulled out a small leather bag and tossed it at their feet. The clink of coins filled the air. Double what he paid. The bandits bent, greed lighting their faces. My heart raced. Was this real? My father had returned only to buy me back, not for love, but like an item in a market. "Papa," I begged, clutching the twins closer. "Don't leave them. If you love me, don't leave them." His face tightened. "Love doesn't feed mouths. Love doesn't fight curses. Sometimes survival means sacrifice." The words stabbed my chest. I shook my head violently, tears streaming. "Then I don't want to survive. If they die, I die too." The twins wailed as though they understood. My sobs grew louder, filling the hut with pain. Daniel pushed himself forward, his hand shaking but his eyes fierce. "Adaora, listen to me. Blood does not always mean family. Family is the one who fights for you, the one who will die for you. That is not him." My father's jaw clenched, but his eyes flickered. Maybe anger, maybe guilt. I didn't know. The bandits muttered among themselves, clutching the bag of coins. The leader finally shrugged. "Fine, the girl is yours. But the babies?" He raised his knife again, turning toward the twins. "No!" I screamed, throwing myself over them. My whole body curled around their tiny forms, my tears soaking their skin. "Kill me first! You'll never touch them while I breathe." The knife gleamed above me. The air froze. Then, chaos. Daniel lunged, grabbing the leader's arm with his last strength. The knife slashed, grazing his side, but he wrestled fiercely. The other bandits shouted, raising their blades. My father drew a dagger from his belt, his face twisting. For the first time, I saw the man he had become. Harder, darker, a stranger. "Enough!" he roared, striking one of the bandits down. His blade moved like lightning, cutting through the air. The hut filled with screams, blood, fire, and madness. I crawled back into the corner, clutching the twins, my body shaking violently, the world blurred with terror. When the smoke cleared, 2 bandits lay dead, others fled into the night, and Daniel collapsed, bleeding heavily on the floor. My father stood in the doorway, his chest rising and falling, his dagger dripping. His eyes turned to me. "Come," he said coldly, "now." I shook my head, my tears unstoppable. Not without them. He stepped forward, his face shadowed by the torchlight. His voice was low, heavy. "Adaora, if you choose them, then you are no daughter of mine." The words tore me apart. My body trembled, torn between blood and love, between the man who gave me life and the babies who gave me purpose. Daniel's weak voice rose from the floor, barely a whisper. "Choose. Wisely." The twins whimpered in my arms, their small cries louder than my father's command. My heart shattered, but I knew. I knew the truth. I lifted my head, my tears burning my cheeks. "Then I am no daughter of yours. These are my family now." My father's face darkened with rage. His fist tightened around the dagger. For a moment I thought he would strike me down where I stood. The torch flickered, the shadows danced. His voice dropped to a whisper colder than death. "Then you have chosen your grave." He turned and walked into the night, his shadow stretching long and dark behind him. The silence he left behind was heavier than the battle. I fell to my knees, the twins crying against my chest, my sobs shaking the walls. Daniel crawled closer, his body broken but his hand reaching for mine. His eyes, half closed with pain, met mine. "You are not alone," he whispered. But deep inside, I knew the truth. My uncle wanted me dead. My father had turned against me. The villagers feared me. The world itself had declared war on me and the twins. And this was only the beginning. The hut smelled of blood and smoke. My arms ached from holding the twins, but I would not let go. My father's footsteps had faded into the night, but his words still burned in my ears. "Then you have chosen your grave." Daniel lay beside me, his body broken, blood soaking his torn shirt. His breathing was shallow, but his eyes stayed fixed on me. "Adora," he whispered, "we can't stay here. If your uncle doesn't come back, your father will, and the villagers, they will turn against you." Tears blurred my vision. "Where do we go?" "There is nowhere." He coughed, his hand trembling as he touched the ground. "There is always somewhere, but we must leave before dawn." Outside, the night was heavy with silence. The villagers who had come earlier were gone, afraid of the darkness that now surrounded us. The forest was thick with whispers, the kind that made your skin crawl. I rocked the twins gently, praying for strength. When Daniel tried to stand, he stumbled. I rushed to his side, holding him with one arm while clutching the twins with the other. "You're too weak," I said, my voice cracking. His lips curved in a faint, painful smile. "Weak doesn't matter. Alive does." We slipped out of the hut into the cold night. The moon cast pale light over the forest, the trees towering like watchful giants. My heart pounded with every step. I expected my uncle's shadow to leap out, or my father's cold eyes to appear in the dark, but the silence pressed on, heavier than footsteps. Hours passed. At last we reached the edge of a river. The water shimmered in the moonlight, flowing fast, dangerous. Daniel leaned against a tree, his body shaking. "We follow the river south. Maybe there is hope." I nodded, though fear ate at me. The twins stirred, their cries soft, their faces pale from hunger. My heart broke. "They won't survive if we don't find food." Daniel's eyes darkened. "We will, somehow." But before we could move, a sound split the night. Drums. Distant but growing, slow, heavy beats that echoed through the forest. My blood froze. Daniel's head jerked up, his face paled. "No, not them." My voice shook. "Who?" His whisper was filled with dread. "The night hunters." The drums grew louder. Shadows flickered between the trees, torches dancing. Strange chants carried on the wind, low and haunting. My arms tightened around the twins as fear clawed up my spine. Daniel's eyes met mine, wide with urgency. "We must hide." We stumbled into the thick undergrowth, crouching low behind the trees. The twins whimpered softly, and I pressed my hand gently over their mouths, begging them to be silent. My whole body shook, my heart threatening to burst. The chanting grew clearer. Figures appeared, masked men painted in ash and blood, carrying spears and torches. Their voices rose with the drums, their feet pounding the earth in rhythm. Daniel's whisper was harsh. "They hunt children. They believe their blood gives power." My stomach twisted, bile rising in my throat. My arms tightened protectively around the twins. "No," I breathed, my tears streaming silently. The men passed close, their torches lighting their painted faces. My heart stopped when one paused, sniffing the air like a wolf. His eyes darted toward the trees where we hid. Daniel gripped my arm. "Don't move." The man tilted his head, listening. For a long moment, silence stretched. Then he turned and moved on. joining the others. My body sagged in relief, but Daniel's face stayed grim. They will come back. They don't leave until they find blood. The twins whimpered again, their cries too soft to control. Panic filled me. If the hunters heard them, it would be over. Daniel pulled me close, whispering fast. Adora, listen. If they find us, don't fight. Give them me, not the babies. Promise me. I shook my head violently, sobbing. No, I can't. He gripped my hand hard, his eyes burning. Promise me! Before I could answer, the sound of the drums shifted, faster, wilder. The hunters had stopped moving. A voice shouted through the forest, deep and commanding, "Bring out the cursed twins." My whole body went cold. My uncle's voice, he was with them. The hunters roared, raising their spears high. The chanting rose louder, stronger. My uncle's words cut through the night again. The children must die before sunrise, or the curse will spread. Find them! The men scattered, torches blazing through the trees. I clutched the twins to my chest, my tears falling uncontrollably. My uncle wanted them dead. My father had abandoned us, and now even the night hunters were hunting their tiny breaths. Daniel's eyes darted to the river. It's the only way. I stared at the rushing water, horrified. We'll drown. Better to drown fighting for life, he whispered, than to die screaming in their hands. The torches drew closer, the chanting deafening. My heart pounded. I looked at the twins, their small faces, their tiny fists. I kissed them, whispering, "Forgive me." Daniel took my hand. On 3. 1. The shadows of the hunters flickered closer. 2. My uncle's voice thundered again. They are near. Find them. 3. We leapt. The icy water swallowed us whole. The twins screamed, their cries muffled by the river. My body was dragged under, the current pulling hard. I kicked, fought, held them high above the surface, choking, gasping. Daniel's voice echoed through the roar of the river. "Hold on, Adara, don't let go." But the current was merciless. My arms burned, my lungs screamed. I tried to hold them higher, but the water crashed over us. My vision blurred. And then, in the chaos of the river, one of the twins slipped from my grasp. "No!" I screamed, my voice tearing through the night. The current carried the baby away, the tiny body spinning, lost in the waves. My scream shook the forest. Daniel fought to reach me, but the water dragged us apart. The last thing I saw before the river swallowed me was the small face of the baby drifting away, his cry fading into the darkness. The river roared like a beast as it carried us. My lungs burned, my arms ached, but nothing hurt more than the emptiness where one baby had slipped from my grasp. My scream still echoed in my ears. "No!" I clutched the other twin tightly, pressing the small face against my chest as the water spun us violently. My tears mixed with the river until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Daniel's voice shouted somewhere in the darkness, but the current dragged us apart. Then, silence. The river spat me out onto muddy ground. I coughed and choked, pulling the baby close. My chest heaved with breath, my body trembling from cold and fear. But the emptiness in my arms screamed louder than any pain. One was gone. I curled around the twin I still held, Kehinda. His tiny face was pale, his breaths shallow, but he was alive. My tears fell onto his cheeks as I whispered, "I won't lose you too, I swear it." But grief tore me apart. Where was Taiwo? The river had taken him. Was he dead, or drifting alone in the darkness? The thought clawed at me, tearing my heart into pieces. "Adara!" Daniel's voice broke the silence. I looked up to see him dragging himself out of the river, blood mixing with water on his face. He stumbled, fell, but his eyes searched for me until they landed on Kehinda in my arms. Relief flashed across his face, then sorrow as he realized the truth. "One is gone," I whispered, my voice broken. Daniel staggered closer, kneeling beside me. His hand touched my shoulder. "The river doesn't always kill. Sometimes it delivers. We don't know if he is gone." I shook my head violently, sobs racking my chest. He was so small, the water. He couldn't. Don't give up, Daniel cut in, his voice firm despite his weakness. Hope is all we have. I wanted to believe him, but despair swallowed me whole. My father had abandoned me, my uncle hunted me, and now the river had stolen one of the babies. How much more could the world take from me? Then, voices. Daniel's head snapped up. My blood froze. Torches flickered in the distance, the drums starting again. The night hunters. They hadn't given up. Daniel grabbed my arm. We have to move. My body felt like stone, but his grip dragged me up. We stumbled into the forest, Kehinda crying softly in my arms. The shadows of the hunters grew closer, their chants rising, their torches spreading like fire. We ran until my legs gave out. My chest screamed for air. I collapsed under a tree, clutching Kehinda desperately. Daniel crouched beside me, his eyes scanning the forest. Then, through the trees, a new light appeared, softer, steady, not torches. A lantern. A woman stepped forward, her face pale in the glow. She was tall, wrapped in a cloak, her eyes sharp but kind. Behind her, 2 men carried baskets and blankets. Daniel tensed, ready to fight, but the woman raised her hand. Peace. I am not with them. Her voice was calm, steady, yet powerful. I clutched Kehinda tighter. Who are you? I whispered, my tears choking me. She stepped closer, her eyes falling on the baby in my arms. I am Mama Ijoma. I've been waiting for you. Her words made my skin crawl. Waiting? For me? Daniel narrowed his eyes. How do you know her name? The woman smiled faintly. Because the story of Adaora and the cursed twins was told long before you were born. My heart stopped. The forest seemed to spin around me. What do you mean? Mama Ijoma's eyes locked onto mine. Your uncle was right about one thing. The twins carry a mark. But he was wrong about what it means. They are not curses, they are chosen. One twin carries life, the other carries death. If both live, they will change the world. That is why your enemies hunt you. That is why the river did not kill the one you lost. It has hidden him. Her words shook me like thunder. Life and death? Chosen? My breath came in gasps. I looked down at Kehinda, his tiny eyes fluttering open for a moment, then back at the woman. Daniel's voice was sharp. How do we know you're not lying? Mama Ijoma's smile faded. Because if I were, you would all be dead already. The hunters follow your uncle's orders. He is not just trying to kill them. He is trying to stop a prophecy. My body trembled. Prophecy. The word carried weight I didn't understand but couldn't ignore. Mama Ijoma knelt before me, her eyes softening. You must find the other twin. Alive, he is hope. Dead, he is destruction. Your choice will decide everything. The ground seemed to fall away beneath me. I had thought saving them was only about survival. Now I realized it was something far greater, something bigger than me, bigger than Daniel, bigger even than my uncle's hatred. The sound of drums thundered closer. The hunters were near. Mama Ijoma stood, her cloak billowing. Come, I will hide you tonight. But remember, child, the river does not take what destiny has claimed. The missing twin still breathes, and he will return, not as the baby you lost, but as something greater. A shiver ran down my spine. My tears fell faster, but this time they were mixed with something new. Fear, yes, but also a spark of hope. Daniel touched my shoulder, his voice hoarse. Do you hear that, Adaora? He's alive. We will find him. I clutched Kehinda tighter, whispering into his tiny ear. Hold on, little one. Your brother is still out there. I will not stop until I find him. The forest trembled with drums, the hunters closing in. The night was not safe, the journey ahead was darker than ever. But one thing had changed. I was no longer just a girl running from death. I was a girl chasing destiny. And this was only the beginning. Mama Ijoma led us through the thick forest, her lantern lighting a narrow path only she seemed to know. Daniel limped beside me, blood still dripping from his wounds, while I clutched Kahinda close against my chest. My arms ached, my feet burned, but fear drove me forward. The drums of the night hunters still echoed faintly behind us, reminding me that death followed close. At last, we reached a small compound hidden deep among towering trees. Mud walls circled the place and strange symbols were painted across the gates. The moment Mama Ijoma pushed them open, the forest seemed quieter, as if even the night itself dared not step inside. "Enter," she said softly, her eyes scanning the shadows. Inside, the compound smelled of herbs and smoke. Wooden carvings of birds, snakes, and stars hung from the trees. A fire burned at the center, glowing blue instead of red. The sight sent chills through me. Daniel stiffened, his hand tightening on my arm. "What place is this?" Mama Ijoma looked at him calmly. "A place older than your village, older than your uncle's hatred. A place where destiny is written." Her gaze shifted to Kahinda in my arms. "The child must rest here, or he will not survive the night." Fear gripped me, but Kahinda's tiny breaths were shallow, his lips pale. I hesitated, then slowly laid him down on the mat she pointed to. She sprinkled herbs over him and began to chant softly in a language I didn't understand. The blue fire flickered higher. Daniel leaned closer to me, whispering, "Are you sure we can trust her?" I bit my lip, my eyes fixed on Kahinda. "I don't know, but if he dies, there will be nothing left to fight for." Tears burned my eyes as I watched Mama Ijoma work, her hands moving with strange precision, her voice rising and falling like waves. Kahinda whimpered once, then fell still. My chest tightened. "Is he?" My voice cracked, my hands trembling. Mama Ijoma's eyes snapped to mine. "He sleeps. He is safe. But the mark of destiny burns stronger in him. You must prepare yourself, child. You have chosen this path, and it is one filled with blood." Her words sent shivers down my spine. Blood. Why always blood? Hadn't I bled enough? Hadn't the twins cried enough? Daniel's voice broke through the silence. "Why is everyone after them? Why does her uncle want them dead?" Mama Ijoma's eyes darkened. "Because your uncle knows the truth. The twins are not just children, they are keys. One opens life, the other opens death. If both live, they will bring balance. If one dies, the world will fall into ruin." I gasped, my heart pounding. "Balance? What does that mean?" Her gaze pierced through me. "It means kings will fall, nations will rise, and blood will cover the earth. Your uncle fears this power. Your father fears it too. But you were chosen to guard it." The words crushed me. I was just a girl, weak, broken, carrying too many wounds. "I can't," I whispered, tears spilling. "I can't carry something so heavy. I couldn't even hold both of them in the river. I lost Taiwo." Mama Ijoma's expression softened. The river did not steal him. It hid him. Do not confuse loss with destiny. But her comfort felt like fire in my chest. I buried my face in my hands, sobbing quietly. Daniel moved closer, his voice weak but steady. "Adaora, listen to me. You've already carried them farther than anyone else would. You chose love when even your own blood chose hate. That is why you can carry this. Because your heart is stronger than all their curses." His words cracked something open in me. I turned to him, my tears falling freely. For the first time, I saw Daniel not just as the boy who had saved me, but as the one who believed in me when no one else did. But the moment of softness shattered when a loud crash echoed outside the compound walls. Mama Ijoma froze. Her eyes snapped to the gates. "They have found us!" The drums returned, louder now, surrounding the compound. Torches flared through the cracks in the wall. The night hunters had tracked us. Daniel stumbled to his feet, grabbing a wooden spear from the fire pit. "I'll fight." Mama Ijoma shook her head. "Number, you fight, and you all die. Only one choice remains." Her eyes locked on me. "Give them the baby." My blood ran cold. "What? Never!" I screamed, clutching Kahinda to my chest. Her voice rose sharp. If you keep him here, they will burn this place down and slaughter all of you. Sometimes survival is not in holding, but in letting go. The ground tilted beneath me. My heart pounded. How could she even say that? After all I had lost, after the river had taken Taiwo, now she wanted me to hand Kahinda over. Daniel shook his head violently. No, don't listen to her. We fight Adaora. We don't hand him over. The gates shook violently, the chanting rising into a roar. The hunters were seconds from breaking through. Mama Ijuma's eyes blazed. Child, choose. Save the one in your arms or lose everything. Destiny demands sacrifice. The world blurred around me. My uncle's voice echoed in the distance. My father's cold eyes flashed in my mind. Daniel's bloodied face stared at me with desperation. Kahinda whimpered softly in my arms, innocent, fragile. The gates cracked. Torches burst through the gaps, and in that moment I realized the truth. No matter what I chose, the world would never let me keep both. Tears poured down my face as I screamed, "No!" The gates shattered. The hunters stormed in. The gates of the compound burst open. The night hunters poured in, their torches high, their chants deafening. I clutched Kahinda to my chest, my tears blinding me. Daniel staggered forward, holding a spear though his body was weak, ready to fight to the death. But before the first spear could strike, the blue fire at the center of the compound roared higher, brighter, blinding everyone with its light. The hunters stopped, shielding their faces, their chants breaking into cries of fear. Mama Ijoma lifted her hands toward the flames, her voice rising. Destiny has chosen. The child shall not die tonight. The fire grew until it consumed the whole compound in its glow. I pressed Kahinda close, my heart pounding, but instead of burning, the light wrapped around us like a warm blanket. For the first time in forever, I felt peace. Then, through the blinding glow, I saw him, a small figure at the edge of the fire drifting forward. My breath caught. My tears fell harder. It was Taiwo, alive. The river had not taken him. The fire had brought him back. His tiny body was wrapped in reeds, his little fists moving weakly. A gentle force seemed to carry him through the flames, setting him softly into my arms. I screamed with joy, holding both twins together again, pressing kisses to their faces. "They're alive!" I cried, my sobs turning into laughter. "Both of them! Alive!" The hunters fell silent, their eyes wide with fear. Some dropped their spears and fell to their knees, whispering prayers. Others fled into the forest, their chants broken. The prophecy they had feared was standing before them, not curses, not death, but two tiny children glowing with life. My uncle's voice shouted from behind the hunters, but it trembled now. "Kill them! Don't let this happen!" But even his own men turned away. None dared touch the children who had walked through fire. My uncle's face twisted with rage as he raised his machete and rushed toward me. Before he could strike, Daniel stepped in front of me, weak but unyielding. His eyes blazed as he drove the spear forward. The machete clattered to the ground, and my uncle fell. The man who had cursed us, hunted us, abandoned us, ended by the very boy he had tried to break. Silence filled the compound. The hunters had vanished into the night. My uncle lay still, the fire dimmed to a gentle glow. I looked down at the twins in my arms, Taiwo and Kahinda breathing together again. My tears fell freely, but this time they were tears of joy. Daniel sank to his knees beside me, his body trembling with exhaustion. I leaned against him, my heart full. "We did it," I whispered, his lips curved in a faint smile. "Number you did it, Adaora. You never let go." Mama Ijuma's voice was soft, almost like a song. "The prophecy is fulfilled, child. You have chosen love, and love has conquered fear. These children will grow not as curses but as blessings to the world. And you are the one who gave them life." I pressed my cheek against the twins, rocking them gently. For the first time since my parents' death, I felt something I thought I would never feel again: home. The days that followed were filled with healing. The villagers, once afraid, came to see the twins as miracles instead of curses. Women brought food, men offered protection, and the elders declared that no harm would ever touch us again. The story of that night spread, and people whispered of the girl who chose love over death, who fought with nothing but her tears and her heart, and won. Daniel recovered slowly, though scars covered his body. He never left my side. Sometimes I caught him staring at the twins, his eyes soft, his lips curved in quiet smiles. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky gold, he looked at me and said, "You don't have to carry this alone anymore. We'll raise them together." My heart warmed in a way I couldn't describe. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. As for the twins, they grew stronger each day. Taiwo, once lost to the river, became the one who laughed the loudest. Kahinda, the one who clung to me through every storm, grew with quiet strength. They were no longer the children marked for death. They were children marked for hope. Sometimes I still remembered the pain, the fire that took my parents, the cruelty of my uncle, the cold eyes of my father. But when I looked into the faces of the twins, I realized something. Pain had not destroyed me. It had carved me into someone stronger, someone who could choose love even when the world offered only hate. And so, under the wide sky, in a village that once feared us but now guarded us, I found peace. I was no longer the orphan girl abandoned in the forest. I was the mother of miracles. And as I held Taiwo and Kehinde in my arms, with Daniel by my side, I whispered softly to the night, "We survived, and we will live." For the first time, the future was not filled with fear. It was filled with hope, and that was the sweetest ending of all.